This is another Read Me Something reward for Reich E. Spore's Patreon. We are reading from my Oz-based novel, Polychrome. Chapter 40. "Impressive, my queen," Ugu said. Inwardly, he decided he would, by preference, have said, "horrifying." "You think so?" Amanita's voice was light and cheerful, the voice of a girl showing off her latest dress, or perhaps a lovely sampler she just finished stitching. "I do think they're some of my best work, and I've thought through their names very carefully." Before them stood 4 huge figures, bowing before their creator and mistress. One was a huge yet indistinct shape, yellow eyes glinting venomously, sometimes manlike, at other times spreading insubstantial icy wings and screaming like a bird of prey. The second a massive, blazing figure of fire, eyes rimmed with coal-black and a fanged, smiling mouth, horns, and cruel, clawed hands. The third a bloated, jelly-like thing with glowing green eyes and a slavering maw that smelled of death and decay, at moments coiling into a shape like a decaying serpent. And the last a grim, angular, reptilian shape of stony blocks, a glowering, dull countenance with eyes like the flicker of light off crystal, and a hungry, hateful expression. "I have heard rumor of these names, my queen, and, if you will excuse me for saying so, I am concerned there may be a bit of hubris in them. I've become something of a master of understatement in these centuries when dealing with Amanita." "Why, you're concerned, Ugu dear. How kind of you. But really now, it's merely sending a little message. We do intend to take it all now, don't we?" Even after all he had seen, all the dangerous games he had played with this more than half-mad Yukuhu, very nearly that simple question undid him. It was a matter of desperate control to answer with any semblance of his usual aplomb. "I would say these are things to be decided as the time comes. You know me, my queen. Take things in their order, all things in their time. Let us finish the matter of the mortal, and we shall see what the next step shall be." She frowned, but prettily, clearly not truly annoyed. "Oh, Majesty, you are such a cautious man. But there now, that is your job, I suppose, if you have been so kind as to assume the drudgery of managing much of Oz while I do my research." She gestured, and the 4 monstrous figures rose. "Go now, Surtur, Jormungandr, Nidhogg, Resvelgar. Go and ready yourselves for when you are needed." Ugu bowed and excused himself as well. "I have many duties to attend to, my queen, and I see your work here is well in hand, indeed." Once clear of Amanita's range, once within his own section of castle, Ugu sank into a chair. "Mad, utterly mad. It matters not that I see where the madness came from. Truly our success, and perhaps the stress of knowing that a war is coming, has finished loosing the chains of reason that were strained to breaking long ago. She believes that we shall challenge the above and below once we have won fairly." For a moment he allowed himself to wonder if perhaps she was not mad, if the great binding would even give her that much power. The thought filled him with even more fear than the belief that she was well and truly insane. He set his jaw. "I must make sure all of my plans are laid, all things arranged precisely. There must be no possible route to failure." "Majesty?" Startled, he looked up to see Cirrus Dawnglower standing over him, with concern on his face. Quickly he stood up. "General!" Cyrus still looked worried, but recognized that his king was in no mood to discuss his concerns. The wardens of the sand have spoken. Something moves across the desert. Indeed. How far, and where? I have a hard time crediting the report, sire. The sound of moving, they say, is like a whispering wind, and moves as swiftly as the wind across the sand. I see. Ugu frowned. Moving across the sand like the wind. Minimal magic. Now if I were a mortal, what... Suddenly he laughed. Ingenious! Most ingenious, my mortal enemy. And, if you are as worthy an adversary as you have appeared... Cyrus, tell me, it does not cross at the narrow place, but is passing to the north, yes? The flash of startlement and increased respect warmed Ugu momentarily. He was pleased when he could see something before his general, who was, truth be told, uncommonly sharp and well versed in his strategies. It is even so, sire. Yet, how did you know? He rides the winds themselves, my friend, on a vessel like those used to cross the waves. That was his goal in travelling to Pingaree, artisans of the highest skill, to build him a ship that might cross even the deadliest sands with speed and surety. And he lands not at the places you have fortified, but seeks to bring himself to land in the north, the Gillikin country, where it will be hard indeed to bring our forces to bear. A clever and dangerous man they have chosen here, one who has been thinking several steps ahead. Bring in all your forces from the Winkie country. They are not needed. Pickets along the north, one side to the other, immediately. At once, Majesty. As Cyrus strode off, Ugu nodded. The end of the game is nearly in sight. A few more preparations to make. It must be perfect. There will be no route to salvation for the mortal, no possible direction that will not end with his final sacrifice in Amanita's great array. And then, as soon as the sacrifice is complete in that very moment, then Amanita must die, for the sake of Oz and all the world. He wondered at himself, for even that thought, as true and necessary as ever a thought was, left him feeling grim and sad. This killing and plotting, when will it end? When can I stop?